Well, slightly different conditions here for race number 2, with Graham Gant and Daniel Hans this time on the front row, ahead of Craig Pollard and Ian Jordan, Ian Buxton and Tim Probert, then Peter Belsey and Steve O. Peter Belsey in particular should move forward, so too should Paul Taylor from the 5th row, with Colin Gregory alongside, rounding out the top 10. What is another packed grid of 31 cars for the Heritage Park Centre Formula V Championship. Now, that non-finish for Daniel Hans, or not non-finish, but a start from the pit lane in race 1 for Daniel Hans, which eventually gave him an 11th place finish, means that he has lost some ground in the championship, but that now becomes his worst finish of the year, so it becomes one of his drop scores. We'll get into that in more detail during the race, though, because for now the lights are out and away we go. And this time Graham Gant makes a much better start from pole position. In race 1 he didn't go anywhere, dropped all the way down to about 5th or 6th off the line. This time around, though, he will hold the lead from Daniel Hans down towards turn number 1. Craig Pollard is 3rd, Ian Jordan 4th, Tim Probert 5th, and Peter Belsey already up a position from 7th on the grid into 6th at turn 1. Now, there is a bit of drizzle in the air. There's been some overnight rain as well, so no one really quite knows what the conditions are going to be like out there this morning. But yesterday's bright and sunny conditions seem an awfully long time ago. In towards Village they will go. There's the 56 going around the outside, and the car sideways. That's 28 going around. That's Sam Engineer rotating, and another car running wide as well behind him. So a few drivers already coming a cropper in the very slippery conditions, very greasy conditions here this morning at Silverstone. Number 23 there, Alex Jones, trying to gain ground, but it is Gant that leads the way down the straight for the first time into 2nd place by the looks of it, and now challenging for the race lead. Going up the inside, in fact, is Craig Pollard. So Pollard has gone from 3rd to 1st in about 2 corners, and Daniel Hans trying to follow him through. And this is really important because, of course, Daniel Hans and Craig Pollard are still 1st and 2nd in the championship. At the moment, they are separated on the road by Graham Gant, and indeed they continue to be separated on the road by Graham Gant as they turn into Vale. Gant knows a bit wide. Daniel Hans trying to tee him up on the exit, gets up the inside in towards the 2nd part of Club Corner. Gant's going to turn in. They can't afford any contact here, and it's all allowing Craig Pollard to pull away. It also gives Ian Jordan a run down the pit straight now, so the 3 of them head down towards Abbey Corner pretty much as one. Daniel Hans on the inside, and Peter Belsey's in there as well, going up the inside of Ian Jordan for 4th position. They'll run wheel to wheel through the corner, and that just takes a bit of the pressure away from Daniel Hans slightly, who really needs to get past Graham Gant as quickly as possible. Here he goes up the inside line down towards Village Corner, and through he goes. So Daniel Hans goes into 2nd place, Peter Belsey goes into 4th, so it's all changed around here in the early stages. Ironically, the slippery conditions actually leading to much more entertaining racing immediately than we had, at least right at the front of the field in race 1. There was stuff going on further back, but at the front of the field in yesterday's race, Craig Pollard was able to pull away to a fairly convincing victory. Well, he's trying to do the same thing now, but his big rival in the championship, Daniel Hans, is on his case now in 2nd place. So the gap between them on dropped scores is now 17 points at the front of the field, with Ian Jones a further 3 back, so 20 points cover, Ian Jordan, a further 3 back, so 20 points cover the leading 3 in the championship. But Ian Jordan is not really a part of this lead battle at the moment, so Ian, who was 3rd in yesterday's race in car number 4, really does need to try and get on terms with the leading 2. He's in the top 5 at the moment, he's in that group, but just not able to go with the leading 2. Side-by-side action further back, the 56 car going up the inside of Tim Probert there was Christian Goller, had to back out of it, lost momentum onto the pit straight as a result, but at the front of the field, gaining momentum all the time with the slipstream from the race leader is Daniel Hans, who really needs to try and bounce back from yesterday's disappointment. He may well be able to count that as a drop score, but it only gained him 8 championship points essentially. He was dropping a 16-point score, and now he's dropping an 8-point score, along with the single point that he scored earlier on in the season, which was his worst finish of the year. So Daniel Hans sort of regains 8 points, if you see, through the drop score system, which is all a bit convoluted, but it just gives the drivers an opportunity to sort of bounce back after. If they have a bad weekend, it's not all over as far as the championship's concerned. This race certainly isn't all over, because they're wheel to wheel now for the lead. Daniel Hans has caught, and he's now trying to overhaul his big rival Craig Pollard down towards Stowe Corner. They go, he's going to go right round the outside. Fantastic move that was from Daniel Hans, if it worked, which it did. So Daniel Hans gets himself into the lead of the race now. This is turning into a much more typical slipstreaming Formula V race here at Silverstone. This is what we expected this weekend. The high-speed nature of the Silverstone International layout, with lots of good overtaking opportunities as well, always was going to provide good racing. Race 1, they were fairly well behaved, and they're being well behaved now, but they were fairly calm in the first race. This time around, though, we've already seen a couple of lead changes. We could see another one here as Daniel Hans has to go to the inside line into Abbey to defend from Craig Pollard, who thought about going around the outside. They got a bit of a twitch as he turned into the first corner. As I said, there's still a bit of moisture in the air. That's just making the track less than ideal as far as the grip levels are concerned. And now Graham Gant is there and Peter Belsey, all four of them as one as they go towards Village. Gant going around the outside of Pollard. Now this is playing perfectly into the hands of Daniel Hans, because if they can get a couple of cars between them, that will allow him to take a few more points out of Pollard. At the moment there is one car separating them, and that is Graham Gant, who goes into second place, Pollard third, and Belsey in fourth place. On board here with Jason Chatton as he appears to be slowing down slightly coming out of Abbey corner, or is he? No, I think he's still at speed. He's just running a bit further down the order, of course, losing a bit of ground there as he came through, lost a position. Right-hander at Village, and the number 21 machine that qualified some way down the order is doing its best, I think, just to stay out of trouble here in these slightly tricky conditions at the front of the field. It's all changed again, though. Look at this. Graham Gant has now got the lead, but he runs wide onto the runoff area of Vale, and so Hans goes back through, and Peter Belsey tries to take advantage as well. This is all getting very, very close indeed, but Daniel Hans it is, back into the race lead. Second place for Graham Gant, side by side for third, with Craig Pollard trying to go back through. Hans has to defend the inside line, though, because the yellow car of Gant is going to try and go right around the outside of Abbey. He can't turn in, though. The car understeers wide, and so Pollard, who a minute ago was fourth, is now second and challenging for the race lead as well. Hold your breath, everyone. They're heading down towards Village once again, and can the blue car of Hans stay in front? Yes, he can, but somehow Craig Pollard is right back with him again now. This is going to be the nature of the racing, I think, right the way through. I don't see any one of these four drivers dropping back too far. They're likely to stay together right to the end of the race, and in fact it could be 5 or 6, because Ian Jordan's closing in, and I think Paul Taylor as well. So we could have a 6-car fight for the race lead before too much longer. Hans has the lead, but he's a sitting duck in the slipstream down the hanger straight, and so Craig Pollard mirror signal manoeuvres, pulls to the left-hand side and goes through. Really, there was nothing that Daniel Hans could do there. Graham Gant and Peter Belsey, though, are side by side again for third place, and Belsey, they almost banged wheels there. Belsey had to back out of it, and so Gant around the outside line moves back into a podium position. Now, in these sort of races, yes, it's very entertaining seeing all of these overtakes, all of these lead changes, but there's a lot more going on in the cars and in the minds of the drivers as they try and figure out where they need to be on the last lap, because with the effect of the slipstream around here, you don't necessarily want to be in front going onto the hanger straight for the final time, because as we just saw there, Daniel Hans was in the lead as he came onto the hanger straight. By the time they got to the end of it, though, Craig Pollard had driven straight past him, so have to think tactically here. It's easier said than done, though, where there are three or four other cars swarming around you trying to also put themselves in the best position onto the final lap. But it is fitting that the top two in the championship are leading this group of cars now. Oh, there was almost contact there and up the inside. Daniel Hans, that was a really late lunge there. He went, sold Craig Pollard the dummy. He went to the outside on the way into Chapel, then dived back to the inside. That's really held up Pollard, actually. So Gant's gone through on the inside, and Peter Belsey's going to try and go through on the outside line. Graham Gant could get both of them here, though. Look at the slipstream. They're going to be 4 abreast down towards Stone. No, Pollard backed out of it. Hans on the inside, Gant in the middle, Belsey round the outside of all of them. How's this one going to settle out on the exit of Stowe corner? I think Hans will still have the... Oh, there's a back marker in there as well. Belsey had to go round the outside of the back marker and takes the lead whilst doing it. That's fantastic racing. And Peter Belsey has the race lead again, but that almost went wrong for all of them as they encountered the back marker at Stowe corner. It is now a 6-car fight for the lead, because Ian Jones and Paul Taylor are well and truly with them. So any one of 6 drivers could win the race, and all 3 of our championship contenders are now well and truly in the thick of this battle. Hands up the inside in towards Abbey. He goes back through into the race lead. Belsey drops into second position, and there are briefly 2 cars separating the top 2 in the championship. We just know that's going to change before too much longer, because here comes Pollard trying to work his way back through. He's got Ian Jordan, though, to contend with now, and Jordan is very much still a championship contender here, 20 points off the leader. But if he can beat Pollard by a few places in this race, then he's well and truly back in the hunt. Down the hill they go. Daniel Hans leading the way from Belsey, from Gant, from Pollard, from Jordan, from Taylor. But that's already out of date, because they're fanning out 3 wide for the race lead down the straight. And really, it seems the further back you are in the queue, the bigger the slingshot is that you get. And look at Craig Pollard going up the inside of everyone. 2 wheels on the grass there. That's exactly what I was saying, because he had 3 cars in front of him punching a hole in the air. He was able to get a run on all of them and almost overtook all of them. He slots into second place, I believe, on the way out of Stowe corner. They drop down the hill. He's got Belsey trying to come back at him up the inside, but he can't. So now it's Gant from Pollard from Hans, just about in third. It's almost impossible to keep up with every overtake that's happening just in this lead group. Oh, that was aggressive there from Daniel Hans. He wasn't going to let Peter Belsey back up the inside in the second part of club. I don't think Peter Belsey will particularly appreciate that, so Hans will have to watch out, because Peter, I'm sure, will try and retaliate if he can. He's just allowed the top two to make a small break, but the way this race has been going, you wouldn't imagine they're going to get too far away. And indeed that's the case. By the time they arrive at the braking zone at Village, it almost seems that if you're in the lead, you're of course are sitting up with a slipstream, but you're also the first driver to figure out exactly how much or how little grip there may be at each and every corner, and the cars behind can sort of gauge from you what sort of speed they can take through the corner. Unfortunately, Colin Gregory's race is over. The Shane is pulling into the pit lane. It is now pulling into retirement by the looks of it. Graham Gant, though, is pulling away at the front of the field, and they're going to be three abreast again for second place, with Daniel Hans going to the inside of Pollard, who in turn went to the inside of Peter Belsey. Pollard's going to be the big loser there, loses a couple of places. Hans, though, I think is going to gain a couple and get back into second position. Belsey sweeps around the outside at Stowe, which just doesn't seem to be a particularly quick line at the moment. He loses out to Hans, and in fact Pollard gets back alongside as well on the outside line, but that gives him the inside for Club, and so Pollard is packed through. And well, in fact, Belsey goes back on the inside though, and he gets the squeeze from Pollard as well. That's exactly what Daniel Hans did to Peter Belsey a lap ago. Peter's going to be getting a bit fed up of that sort of treatment, but then, you know, you have to get your elbows out in this sort of racing. It's so close and they're all so evenly matched that you have to fight for literally every inch on the track. On board with Ian Jordan now in the Sheen, who is third in the championship, just 3 points behind Daniel Hans and 20 behind the championship leaders. So they both need to beat Pollard in this race, really, because there are only 2 more races to go after this one. So, you know, a 7 or an 8 point deficit is doable, but I think once you start getting into the mid-teens, which is what it is at the moment, then that's going to be difficult for them to close on Pollard, I think, at the final round. So they want to take as many points out of him this weekend as they possibly can. Oh, here comes Paul Taylor, though, to spoil the party. Drives around the outside of Ian Jordan. So Jordan now down to 6th position. And Paul Taylor in the number 5 car. It's another one of the Bears GAC cars. He and Craig Pollard, teammates, of course. And so if he can get up there and help his teammate, maybe, that would not be an unwelcome sight for Craig Pollard. Pollard's doing all right on his own, though. He's settled into 3rd place now. He's just settled down briefly because they'd fragmented slightly on the previous lap, so they're all getting themselves back together again now. But we are getting into the final quarter of the race now, so times are ticking. You've got to try and get yourself in the ideal position if you can, and it may well be that Graham Gant has timed this out right. He got the lead and pulled away, but it does look as though Daniel Hans is reeling him in. Craig Pollard in 3rd place with Peter Belsey 4th. Are they going to be able to catch the leading 2? You'd have to imagine they probably will. The question is, though, where do Pollard, Hans and Jordan finish in respect of each other, because they are those 3 fighting for the championship. The others are just looking for a good result in this race. They're not particularly points playing here. Oh, a back marker. Now that was a back marker that didn't exactly get in the way, but couldn't really get out of the way quick enough there for Graham Gant, and that held him up, and it's put them all back together again now. So Graham Gant is in the lead, but they're going to be 3 abreast behind him once more as Belsey goes to the inside, Pollard goes to the outside, and Hans is stuck in the middle, and it will be Pollard, I think, that gets second. There's a whiff of smoke out of the exhaust there. I don't think that's anything particularly to worry about. So through goes Pollard into second. And now he's the man on the tail of Graham Gant. There is more traffic up the road, though, and this is where it gets all a bit difficult because you're so busy fighting each other, but you've then got much slower traffic, cars that you're capable of lapping several seconds a lap quicker than, and if you catch them midway through a sequence of corners like the Village and Loop section or Vale and Club at the end of the lap, it can really hurt your momentum through the corner and cost you ground. It now becomes even more pivotal, though, because we're on to the final lap of the race, and Graham Gant, who will feel that he missed an opportunity to win a race in race 1. He started essentially from pole position with the demise of Daniel Hans and didn't get the start, ended up fighting back to finish in 2nd place, but it could have been the victory. Well, this time around he's just less than a lap away from maybe taking the checkered flag in race 2, but we've got that long drag down the Hanger Straight coming up now. It is Pollard in 2nd, it's Belsey 3rd, and Daniel Hans down to 4th place. Is that going to be the order they finish in? I highly doubt it. On board with Ian Jordan as they go out onto the Hanger Straight this time around. The final time of asking, half a lap to go, but what's going on up at the front of the field? They're surely going to be jostling for position down towards Stowe Corner. You can see them running side by side off in the distance, but who is going to get through Stowe as the race leader? I think that Pollard has found a way through ahead of Graham Gant as they turn through the right-hander. So that's another car now, potentially between he and his rival Daniel Hans. It is Pollard that leads the way. There's a back marker up the road as well, though. Oh, the inside comes Daniel Hans. He launches an attack on Graham Gant. He knew that he couldn't allow Pollard to get any further ahead. Craig Pollard is going to take the race victory here in race number 2, a double race victory, in fact, here at Silverstone to extend his championship margin. But Daniel Hans, with damage limitation, comes home in second place. Peter Belsey got third, and Graham Gant was mugged. He led with half a lap to go and ends up fourth at the flag. That is how important the slipstream was, and that's why you have to really think about where you position the car on the final lap of one of those slipstream thrillers that we so often get in the Heritage Parts Centre Formula V Championship. Well, a great race, one of the best races of the season actually, and it is victory for Craig Pollard from Daniel Hans in second, Belsey third, Gant fourth, Paul Taylor fifth, and Ian Jordan down in sixth. That pretty much puts him out of the championship fight now. Tim Probert was seventh ahead of Alex Jones, John Hughes and Jamie Harrison rounding out the top 10. Then it was Andrew Cooper, Mark Egan, Ed Lowndes, David Lanuski and Richard Waddingham who rounded out the top 15. We had a couple of non-finishers, Colin Gregory and Christian Goller, and also Steve O, whilst Francis Twyman was excluded from the result for overtaking under yellow flags. Steve O was a non-starter actually, so too Dave Wallace, and unfortunately Ian Buxton.
Craig, firstly congratulations, 2 wins from this weekend. It wasn't that easy though, what a battle.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be tough today. Danny more determined than ever, obviously, after his misfortune yesterday. Didn't expect to see Pete up there, to be fair, but when you come to Silverstone, you always get good entries and you don't know who's going to be up there and on the pace. And we were just drafting each other all the way down the back straight. I mean, to have the first 2 laps where I had a decent gap, it wasn't enough to break the toe. So to come into the last lap, it was still a lottery.
Was the track evolving as well? Because there was a bit of rain this morning, a bit greasy offline.
Yeah, it was greasy offline, but it was doable. But I think you just need to be brave and have a bit of respect for, you know, not doing anything silly at the end of the day. And regardless of whether you're here for the championship or not, nobody wants to go in with a broken car.
Well, for now, it's been a successful weekend. Go and enjoy it. Well done.
Cheers, well done.
Danny, you've made up for the misfortunes of yesterday, second place. Well earned.
Yeah, it's a really, really exciting race to drive. It could have been anyone's. We're literally drafting each other the whole entire race. So offline was a little bit greasy, but if you were brave enough to go around there, there was grip. So, but yeah, really, really exciting race to drive.
And closes up the points at the top of the table as well.
Yeah, I think Craig just edging away now, bit by bit, and the championship sort of starting to come to an end. Only sort of a couple of meetings left, so it's going to be a sort of a hard push to catch him now. But I'm having fun, and it's my first year back in a long time, and yeah, really having fun.
Good stuff. Well, congratulations.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you. Well, Peter, interesting race. Baker had to come away with a podium, but talk us through it. It was a 4-way battle. I think you all got a lead at one point.
Yeah, very fraught, classic Formula V race really, and really great fun to be a part of. Yeah, each of us, I think, led at some point, and any 4 of us could have won it really. But yeah, really good fun, good slipstream battles down the back straight, and dicing into the corners.
And track conditions are pretty much perfect, you were saying?
Well, not perfect, but obviously rain this morning, so it was greasy in places, but braking points and traction not dissimilar from the dry really, but had to be a bit careful on the curbs and yeah, offline.
Fantastic. Well, for now, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you very much.